Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're not just going to talk about managing ADHD, we're going to talk about architecting a whole new approach. We're going to lay out a really practical blueprint for building systems that actually work with the ADHD brain and maybe even turn some of its unique challenges into some pretty powerful strengths.
You know that feeling, right? That chaotic mental clutter, like you have way too many tabs open in your head all at once? If you've ever felt like you're navigating life on hard mode while everyone else seems to be cruising by, then this is for you. We're going to dig into some of the most effective strategies out there to bring a little order to that chaos.
So here's our game plan. First, we need to understand the why, the unique operating system of the ADHD brain. Then we'll get practical and talk about building an external support system, powering up your internal neurochemistry, and finally, mastering that in-the-moment control.
Okay, let's get right into it. If we're going to build strategies that actually work, we have to understand the fundamental architecture we're dealing with. And this isn't about flaws, okay? It's just about a different design.
So at the very core of ADHD is a difference in brain chemistry. Seriously, it is not a lack of willpower. It's that the brain's system for regulating attention is just wired differently. The main theory for a while has pointed at dopamine. Think of it as the brain's pay attention to this chemical. With less of it available to conduct the orchestra, everything kind of seems equally loud.
And this quote, this just frames the role of dopamine perfectly. Imagine it's the chemical that lets your brain zoom in, creating this tight little tunnel of attention. When those dopamine levels are a bit lower, that tunnel gets way wider, and all of a sudden, everything in your environment is screaming for your focus.
Okay, so if we know that about the brain's operating system, how do we build for it? Well, if your internal hard drive is always busy processing all that extra data, the best solution isn't to try and force it to be different. It's to build a super reliable external one.
This strategy has a name. It's called cognitive offloading. It's all about strategically moving the jobs of remembering, planning, and organizing out of your head and into the physical world around you. This frees up your brain's daily battery life for the stuff that really matters, creativity, problem solving, all that high-level thinking.
And this quote right here, this gets to the absolute heart of it. If you can't see it, it basically doesn't exist. This is a fundamental rule for the ADHD brain. So, to build a good external system, you have to fight this one thing by making important stuff visible, engaging, and pretty much unavoidable.
And this is a perfect, brilliant example of that in action. Creating a dedicated, non-negotiable home for your keys or your wallet isn't just about being tidy. It's about building an automatic external system your brain can totally rely on. And that quiets down that constant low-level anxiety of, where do I put it?
And you can start building this external brain today. Use bright colors to make appointments literally pop on your calendar. Create a hotspot on your desk where anything that has to get done in the next 24 hours lives. These aren't just little organizational tips. They're actually ways to communicate with your brain in a language it gets.
So, we've built the external scaffolding. Awesome. Now, let's look at how we can power the whole system from the inside out by directly influencing our brain's chemistry.
Okay, listen up, because this is huge. Lifestyle things like exercise, sleep, and what you eat, they are not just healthy habits. For the ADHD brain, they are legit neurochemical interventions. Every single one of them directly impacts the chemicals in your brain that govern your focus, your mood, and your ability to get things done. Think of it this way. Getting regular physical activity gives your brain a natural dose of dopamine and norepinephrine. These are the exact same brain chemicals that are targeted by stimulant medication. It's honestly one of the most powerful tools you have for improving focus and reducing that restless feeling.
And let me be clear, consistent sleep is completely non-negotiable. There is no amount of medication or caffeine in the world that can replace the fundamental repair and regulation that happens in your brain when you sleep. It is the foundation that everything else is built on.
Okay, we've covered the external systems, we've talked about the internal fuel. Now let's talk about the steering wheel, the actual techniques you can use right here, right now, to manage focus and impulsivity as it's happening.
So when you feel that rush of frustration or that urge to just make an impulsive decision, this simple 4-step method, this is your emergency brake. The whole goal is to create this tiny but crucial little space between a trigger and your reaction. That space is where all your control lives.
And this really shows the power of that pause. You can see the massive difference it makes. It is a shift from an automatic, often regrettable reaction
to an intentional response that actually aligns with who you want to be and what you really want to achieve.
And for managing focus in real time, there are some simple but honestly game-changing tools. The Pomodoro technique works with your brain's natural attention rhythm. And pairing a boring task with something stimulating, like a podcast, gives you that extra little dopamine hit you need to just get it done.
So, after looking at the blueprint, the scaffolding, the fuel, and all the in-the-moment tools, what's the big idea? What's the master principle that really holds all of this together?
Okay, the most important takeaway is this. Please stop trying to force your brain into a box it was never designed to fit in. That constant fight against your own natural wiring is just exhausting, and in the end, it doesn't even work.
Instead, the real goal is to shift your role from being a fighter to being an architect. It's about intentionally designing your environment, your schedule, in a whole set of systems that are custom-built for the unique way your mind works. That's how you let it do its best work.
And this is the final thought I really want to leave you with. This one question reframes the entire challenge. It's not about fixing a deficit, it's about a creative, empowering project. Building a world where your brain can move way beyond just coping and can finally, truly thrive.